8 p.m. here. The sun is shining. It is great. Thank you for joining us at another Creo Spark webinar series here for those of you live with us in June 2024. Good stuff here happening around SharePoint Premium. And we've been on this kick for AI within SharePoint as well for a little while now. I've been doing some apps in a day or SharePoint Premium in a day of stuff. And we just want to keep continuing that because SharePoint Premium is an amazing offering by Microsoft that is just not getting to me the attention that it needs because there's some really good stuff in there. And so I'm super excited today. We're going to get to look at this in a little quicker format to see this actually in action. So I'm glad you're all here for joining us. Let's continue to move forward. So Creo Spark webinar series brought to you by Creo Spark, of course, the wonderful organization company that we all work for. And what is it that we do? For those of you that are new to us or you've been around us, you kind of want to know what it is that we've been up to. We help organizations create beautiful digital experiences, primarily built around the Microsoft ecosystem. So this is all about Microsoft 365. If you're working with Copilot for Microsoft 365, Microsoft Copilot, all that good AI stuff. SharePoint, of course, Teams, but we also get a lot into Power Platform, Azure, security, Dynamics, all sorts of wonderful stuff when it comes to building really good digital experiences for organizations. We're here to help you, North American based, Canada, US, we got you covered. We'd love to hear from you if you've got some projects that you could really use some help on. All right, next up, we got some housekeeping stuff. So you're here live joining us because we want to be able to offer you this opportunity to ask us questions here. So, you could always go back and listen to this. We'll have the recording available to you sometime next week. But by being live, you get the information fresh, and you can also ask us those questions. So there's a Q&A panel should be off to your right. That'd be probably that way, whatever, it's outside for me. Please do ask those questions. So we'll do our best to get to them all, either by typing them out, or we'll interrupt our speaker, our wonderful speaker, Jed, who I get to introduce shortly here. We'll look to interrupt him and ask him those questions so that you can get those answered for you live. We do have some handouts we typically give at the end, so look for that there. As I talked about, we have that recording. We don't make it immediately available because we want to give you all the benefit. This is why you're here live, is to get this content fresh. And this is a good one, I think. A lot of people have been asking us. They're looking for a certificate of attendance. So we've started adding that now. So at the end, we have an opportunity for you to get a certification to show that you were here and that you got this extra training from us. And then we also have a survey at the end as well. Help us make this better for you. This is free offering. We don't ask for anything on it. We sponsor it ourselves because we want to help convey this information that is most valuable to you. So please let us know, what is it that you're looking to get more information in this kind of soft way, and we are more than happy to help you out. So with that, I like kind of keeping this quick and short. I would like to introduce you our wonderful speaker, Jed. So Jed, go ahead and take it away, please.
All righty. I will indeed, when my camera will come on. Splendid.
And there you go. You're coming in great. You look good.
Cheers, my dear. Got my very Canadian shout on today. Greetings, everybody. We don't need to leave this slide up there for long. I'm Jed. I work for Creo Spark. I am a SharePoint guy. And I agree with Eric. SharePoint Premium is not getting the love it needs. But we'll try and remedy that with today's webinar. Alrighty, so speaking of which, we picked up this quote from our friends at Siskit. SharePoint Premium is described as SharePoint on steroids. It's one way of putting it. We'll dive into that in a bit more depth, because what does this really mean? There is a lot in there. And so we're going to touch on the way we've used some of the features and functionality for one of our clients in order to solve particular business problems for them. But as traditional on our webinar series, first of all, let's take a poll. Prem.
Awesome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Prem, marketing guy from Creo Spark team. And let's take a poll here to better understand what stage you're from and what stage you are at in terms of SharePoint Premium. So you can see a question on the screen right now. is anyone using SharePoint Premium for document processing? We have cool options that we would like to know from you. So you're using out of the box machine learning models. Are you using your own custom machine learning models in the planning phase, or what is machine learning models? So, so you guys can share like where you're at, for us to better understand where you are at in terms of SharePoint Premium. Um, so you can see a lot of people here is
It's
asking what is
new.
machine
Yeah,
learning model?
exactly. Okay, well, we will be able to answer that question. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Um, I see there's still some voting going on. So we've got 10 who are, what the heck is a machine learning model? But we've got a couple, 17% in the planning phase. Um, but interestingly, nobody out there who's dived in yet by the look of it.
Wow. That's why Jed is here to walk us all of you guys through. So, all right, I'm gonna stop the poll and I'm going to
Okay,
pass it to Jed to talk more
thank
about
you,
SharePoint
sir.
Premium.
Awesome. So, given the results of the poll, this is very new to most of the attendees. That's great. It gives us something to aim at. So this is what we're going to talk about today. A little bit of what SharePoint Premium is, and then we're going to look at the potential use cases, but we're going to focus specifically on a case study, one of our customers, and what we did, how we use this technology and other adjacent technologies to solve a very real business issue for them. So it's grounded in the real world. So, what is SharePoint Premium? It's a very good question. But let's step back one first. To understand SharePoint Premium, first we must understand SharePoint. Felt very deep. Probably most of you know this. I'm hoping there's nothing super new to everybody on this slide. SharePoint has been around for a long time. But now it's kind of at the heart of the M365 world. SharePoint Online is provided as part of your Microsoft 365 subscription, but it's the technology that underpins other things within M365. So it's behind the storage in Teams when you put a file in the Files tab. It's the underpinning technology architecture of OneDrive if you're using OneDrive to share. SharePoint is the basis of Microsoft's intelligent intranet and employee experience offerings. So if we build an awful lot of intranets for people using SharePoint, and depending on what their requirements are, straight up SharePoint or SharePoint with the Viva suite to get enhanced employee experience capabilities. But SharePoint has morphed a lot and come a long way since it was released in 2001. And part of that continuing evolution is what we are now referring to as SharePoint Premium. So SharePoint Premium is evolved from Microsoft AI work on machine learning. And once upon a time, there was a project known as Project Cortex. That was released to the public a few years ago as Microsoft Syntex. And all of the features and functionality of Microsoft Syntex have been added to other new things to create SharePoint Premium. So think of it as more of a product line than a single product, or think of it as an overarching brand for a set of functionality. So that functionality is broken up by Microsoft into the three main buckets you see on the bottom of the picture there. So content processing, content experiences, and content governance. And you can see along the top the different headings there. So this set of capabilities brings intelligent content management to SharePoint now, but also things like SharePoint Embedded, which we're not touching on today, is all the back-end functionality of SharePoint to manage files and do versioning and check-in and check-out and that kind of thing, but with no UI. So you build your own front end using the Power Platform or SharePoint Framework. And then governance through connecting to Microsoft Graph to pull out use data and things like that. And a large part of the enhanced governance capabilities is delivered through SharePoint Advanced Management, or as we like to call him or her, SAM. So there is an awful lot of stuff that comes under the heading of SharePoint Premium. And we're going to touch on specific parts of that today. But last month's webinar, which was added to our YouTube channel about 3 weeks ago, so it's up there and you can have a look, and it was a full hour overview of SharePoint Premium. So SharePoint Premium 101, I think, if you search for it on YouTube, and myself and my developer colleagues, Corey and Deepa, went through a much more broad overview of all the different bits of SharePoint Premium. So you can go check that one out. Don't leave now. Go check that one out later when we finish this one. So as part of the overview, these are all the different features that we were just talking about that you get as part of SharePoint Premium. So I'll just go, left to right, top to bottom through these quickly for you. Content assembly is using AI to pull together templates and metadata to build you documents. Document processing is basically what we're going to be talking about today, so I won't focus on that too much right now. Image tagging and taxonomy tagging, so using AI to auto-magically add metadata to image files or any other kind of files, which, as we all know, the more metadata, the better. If you've ever seen me present for CreoSpark before, you'll know that I'm a complete metadata nerd, and you just can never have enough metadata. But we also understand that people don't like filling it in. They don't like putting 6, 7, 8 fields of metadata every time they upload a document. So the more you can automate, the better. And a lot of these features and functionalities within SharePoint Premium help you automate metadata. So I think that's fantastic. We also got AI-powered document translation. SharePoint Premium brings Microsoft's own e-signatures capabilities. So, I mean, it still all integrates very tightly with DocuSign and Adobe Sign, but you may not want to pay for a DocuSign or Adobe Sign license for everybody across your organization. You pay for that for legal, perhaps, or contract negotiators, people who need it. But there are many other good use cases that will potentially benefit from e-signatures. So now you get an alternative that's part of your M365 ecosystem. OCR on the second line, optical character recognition. Well, that's about turning images of documents into actionable information, so you can scan them and recognize what's been written, and turn that into text, and again we can extract and put that into metadata. The next two are tenuously linked under the SharePoint Premium heading because they are products of their own, is Microsoft 365 Archive and Microsoft 365 Backup. Archive is great if you understand the concept of cold storage. So if you're filling up your quota, M365 storage quota, and you want to get rid of some files, you move them to what is called cold storage. It's also referred to as tiered storage, and you move it to a cheapest tier. You're not paying as much, but it's still there. It's not like, getting rid of it completely. Backup is backup. We won't dwell on that. Annotations is an overlay to documents, allows you to write annotations on them within SharePoint. Merge and extract PDFs is exactly what it says on the tin, as we say in the UK. It allows you to merge pages together, and it allows you to extract pages from PDF documents. Content query is a way of building pre-built queries based on metadata and other attributes. So you can build that and host it in a web part and it can be used to, as part of a business process automation play. So can processing rules, which is basically adding your business logic to the creation and processing of documents. And then there's some other taxonomy features and some compliance features, which are generally provided through SAM that we mentioned before, the SharePoint Advanced Management capability. So, as I said, think of this as an overarching brand. There is a lot of stuff in SharePoint Premium, lots of different features and functionality for you to take a look and play with. But use cases that we're talking about today is the document processing capabilities of SharePoint Premium. There is an industry-wide acronym called IDP, which stands for Intelligent Document Processing, and that's what this is. This is the Microsoft IDP play. And as you can see from the graphic on the screen there, it comes in kind of two big buckets of functionality: pre-built machine learning models that Microsoft provides, and the ability to build your own custom machine learning models. Excuse me, but when you're talking a lot, you need to wet the whistle. So let's talk about these for a few minutes. The pre-built models provided by Microsoft, right? So you've got three of them. You've got contract processing, invoice processing, and receipt processing. And these are very common use cases. So Microsoft is able to look at, the most common form of documents is like contracts have a lot in common. Invoices normally have a lot of things in common, and receipts. And so you can build fairly generic machine learning models, which can be quite accurate in recognizing this type of content and therefore extracting data from it. So that's why these are the three out-of-the-box ones. Now, there will be other out-of-the-box ones in future releases. Of that, we have no doubt, but these are the ones you got right now. So for contracts, this model will analyze and extract key information that you would expect in contract documents, such as key information such as client names and addresses, contract duration, renewal dates, things like that. All the stuff you would expect to find in a standard contract. Similarly, for invoices, it's the same kind of thing. The stuff you would expect to find in any invoice. So it will extract that type of key information. So customer name, billing address, due date, and I guess very importantly, the amount due on the invoice. It will pull all that kind of stuff out. And when I keep saying it extracts it from a document and it pulls it out, where does it put it? Well, it puts it in columns in your SharePoint libraries. So as hopefully you all know, we're going real 101 stuff now. When I talk about metadata in SharePoint, that is expressed as columns. So either in a list or in a document library. So when you've got an invoice in your document library and it extracts all this data, it's putting it into columns. And then you can see that in different views. And obviously, once it's in there, you can use Power Automate to do all sorts of things with it. So that's what we mean by extracting this information. It releases it, pulling valuable data out of, I guess it's captured in a document. You have to open the document and manually look at it and read it to see this data and do something with it. Well, now we can automate that. So obviously the same for receipts, the last one in the pre-built models, looking for things like the merchant name, merchant's phone number, transaction dates. I was going to say GST, but that's very Canadian of me. Tax, whatever country you're in, how you do sales taxes and things like that. And of course, the transaction total. What's the bottom line on this receipt? So potentially useful in procurement, but also in expenses management and things like that. So those are the pre-built models. Thank you, Microsoft. But in this in our use case today, what we're talking about is using custom machine learning models. So first thing we have to remember is, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of fuss about AI in the last 2 years because of generative AI. And on the Microsoft side of things, generative AI is Microsoft Copilot. But machine learning is AI, and that has been around for, well over a decade, probably 15 years at least. I'm trying to think back to the first time I did a machine learning project at a big bank in Canada, and I'm going to say it's probably at least 10, 12 years ago. So this side of things isn't that new, and it's had a lot of work done in it, and it's had a lot of time to progress. So back in the old days, you would have to feed a system hundreds of examples of good data, good documents, to get your machine learning model to recognize it, and 10s, 20s, 30s of bad data to give it something to compare and contrast. Whereas what we can do now is bring those numbers down by an order of magnitude, because the models have been developed to the point where they are so much more accurate. But one of the reasons for training your own models is to get good accuracy. So you train it on your own data, specifically the documents that you're interested in, and this is how it helps to be very accurate and give you good results. So, but as you can see on the screen there are 3 different types of custom models we can use: unstructured, freeform, and structured. So what does that mean? Well, reverse order. A structured document processing model is used to automatically identify fields and table values that will probably be in the same place on every instance of that document. So forms are a good example here. Potentially invoices and things which are very standardized documents that come in and have the same information in the same place. Whereas if we use the freeform model to extract information from much less structured documents, such as letters, contracts or agreements, where the information you're interested in could be much looser in its formatting and could be anywhere within the document. And so that leaves the last one, which is unstructured document processing, which is a kind of teaching model, and that's what we use for our customer to meet their business requirements. And so I will talk about that as we move on. So, time for a quick what was the challenge we helped our customer to address? Well, they needed help with streamlining financial statements that were coming in, or not streamlining the statements, I beg your pardon, streamlining the processes for dealing with this influx of financial statements that was coming into their, both as email and physical documents through their mail room, and within what they called the request for offer team, the RFO team. So this team was losing significant time, productivity sucking time by manually organizing documents into specific folders. I mean, hardly surprising historically, right? This is the challenge that many of us have across industries. This is a financial services focused case study, but it really doesn't matter what industry you're in. All of us are, normally looking to improve efficiency by automating processes. And so hopefully, even if you don't work in financial services, that will kind of ring a bell for you. So as part of this search for an automation solution for extracting this crucial information from within those statements and facilities, from within those statements, and facilitate the much more straightforward navigation through this process, we helped them and stepped in to help them automate this. So what their users particularly struggled with was often finding the necessary documents. So there was an element of improving search and searchability of the documents once they were in the system. So that was done through using custom formatted search pages within a SharePoint Online environment. And as I said earlier on, the more metadata, the better. Well, that definitely comes into play when you're trying to improve search for people, right? So the more metadata you've got, the more filtering you can do, the more facets you can provide within search results. And so, another example, or one example, of why metadata is such a key element, and the ability to automate its provision as being such a helpful thing across all sorts of different processes. So you can read the text on the screen, and probably have been doing, but you can see the volume there, manually processing 2,000 to 4,000 files a month. And always when you're manually processing things and rekeying data and typing things in, you will get errors. Doesn't matter how good your people are, and we're not knocking humans, we all make mistakes, right? People make errors. And so one way to reduce the amount of errors and the amount of time you then have to spend dealing with them is to automate processes. All right, so what we're going to do is talk about the particular solution that helped our customer fix or deal with these business issues. So I would say this isn't a super massively complex solution that we built, but you will notice that it's built around a number of different technologies, and that's kind of the one of the great advantages of Microsoft 365 and the Microsoft platforms is the integration between the different parts and the different capabilities, and that you can build a business solution from the bits that you need to meet your particular requirements. So in this case, you will see we haven't changed the icon on the screen, because when we did this, it was still called Syntex. So we used the machine learning, which was then Microsoft Syntex, which is now SharePoint Premium for the document processing capabilities. But we also needed to automate this process. So that's where Power Platform and Power Automate comes into the play. There is a Power App, of which I will show you a screenshot, which we built for dealing with exceptions to the process. So people make mistakes. Occasionally, machines can make mistakes too. Doesn't really matter where the mistake comes from. You need to spot it, and you need to be able to deal with it in a quick and efficient manner. So a app for dealing with process exceptions. And there was Azure elements to this and Azure Logic apps. So as you can see, different moving parts. But different moving parts to do what? Well, we created a number, I think 8 distinct machine learning models to extract 5 essential metadata elements from a range of 40 to 50 different types of financial statements, all coming from different financial institutions as well. And we'll talk about that in the layout. But if you think about the fact that 8 models can be trained to look at 40 to 50 different types of statement and pull out the same 5 pieces of data from all of them, I'm thinking you can probably see how that's a great starting point, and how that brings the benefits of automation. So once we've extracted this vital information, it's there for the analysis, it's there for reference, it's there to enhance search, it's there to speed up the process, it reduces manual intervention by the people who are running the process, and all over, the one overarching benefit is that what we're doing here is enhancing the operational efficiency of this very large process for the client. So, as I said, big part of this is the actual SharePoint Premium content processing, the product formerly known as Syntex. And so let's talk a little about what that means, because I've already said that it's a custom machine learning model and that you train these to understand your documents. But what does that mean exactly? So in the unstructured document processing model, which because it's based on learning, it used to be called the document understanding model in the old help files and things. It uses AI to process the documents. All right, cool, we've got that. But these documents must have text that can be identified based on particular phrases or patterns of text within the document. So the identified text is then used to designate the type of file it is, so classify it, and then we extract it, as we said earlier on, because we use it as metadata. So classifiers and extractors are a key part of this unstructured document processing model, and this is what you train by giving a minimum of 5 good quality documents. So you see, I mentioned it earlier on, back in the day when I started with this stuff, we would feed 500. You might even feed 5,000, but now we can get good accuracy with a minimum of 5 good documents and a couple of ones which you feed as bad documents so it knows what to expect. So already building these is way less onerous because the time taken to build the model has been massively reduced. So back to the classifiers and extractors. Classifiers are used to identify and classify the documents that you upload to your document library. A classifier can be trained to identify, for instance, all the contract renewal documents, or in this case, the different types of financial services statements, and you define the type as you build your classifier. So you tell it what to look for and what it should be keeping an eye open, a robot eye open for. Then the extractors themselves are the part that pull the information from the documents once it's been identified. So for each of the contract renewals, you would identify things like the service start date, or the client name and things like that. And for this case, for the financial services statements, you're looking for numbers, you're looking for dollar values and things like that. And we'll show you that in a screenshot shortly. So using classifiers and extractors and a set of example files, you train your model and you test your classifiers and extractors using that model. So the example files provide your model of literally examples of what to look for, and you would train it based on the specific type of document that you're addressing in your use case, and you run tests using those files so you can assess the effectiveness of your model, and perhaps the accuracy isn't quite where you need it to be, so it's an iterative process. You can go back and tweak it, give it another training set, try it again. This really doesn't take that long, but what you're able to do is to keep working at it until the accuracy hits the point that you're happy with, and that is good enough to automate your business process. Once you've built the model, you publish it to what is called the Content Center in Microsoft, and then in SharePoint, sorry, and then you can apply it to SharePoint document libraries where you upload the particular documents for this particular process. And of course, models can be used in many different document libraries. You can have many different models. The Content Center is the place where you go to manage them all. So I'm going to take another quick sip while we advance the slides. So as you can see, I have my mocked up Acme wealth management statements here, but the statements are slightly different, as you can see visually. But the reason we use this unstructured document processing model is we're looking for the same text phrases or the same types of information in terms of dollar values, but they can be in different places in the different documents. So the name is financial portfolio statement. That's what we're looking to identify. So we classify the document as a financial portfolio statement, but it's in different places. The dollar values, the non-registered investments. Well, the label is the same, non-registered investments, but it's in different places in this document. And that's why we use this particular type of model. That's why we feed it the examples so it can train. So to just walk through that process, the financial services company, which is our customer in this case, has to process many different financial portfolio statements from different clients that look different. And that's why they were using so much time to manually process them, because they would have to look at these documents to manually extract the client number, the registered and non-registered investment dollar numbers, and then put that into a SharePoint library by, like rekeying as metadata so that they could visualize that, look for trends and things. But as I said, if you look at the statements, you can see where we've highlighted in red and green, the words are the same, but they appear in different places. That's why we train the unstructured document model rather than the structured or semi-structured that we used earlier on, which have different sweet spots, different use cases where they fit better. So within the overall landscape of training your own models, you have a great deal of flexibility. So we use this model type. We teach the model to identify the monthly statements. It will scan across a bunch of documents that you upload into your library. The good thing, as I said, was you can apply different models to the same library, so you don't have to be very structured, as in, oh, you only put financial portfolio statements in this library and you put something else in this library. You can mix and match. You can have multiple models running in that library, and the outcome can be classifying different documents in that library as being different things. This is a financial portfolio statement. This is a simple statement. It's not a portfolio. It's just across one product. So lots of flexibility in getting the robots, the AI, to do the work for you here, rather than having humans read them and rekeying data. Now, as I said, the processing part is one part of this, but we're processing documents so we can automate the business process as a whole. And so I know this is a bit of an eye chart. This is a real flow diagram from one of our developers for the big process as a whole, which was powered by Power Automate Flows. So I'm sorry the slide's not great. I had to split it into two, and that's where the line goes connecting the boxes. But it's just to give you an idea of the other elements of this. It's not just about machine learning. It's what you do with those documents once you have classified them and how you push them through the rest of the business process. So as I said, in this case, it's very much about Power Apps and Power Automate Flows and moving things along in this automated fashion. So again, you're removing steps that humans have to do. Being able to move literally thousands of documents around as different steps in the process, as you can imagine, was taking a human team a long time. Just like, I'm going to move this from this library to that library. I'm going to change the status on this document from not reviewed to reviewed or approved, or whatever. It all takes time. So the more you can automate, the better. Now, I also mentioned that there was a Power App element to this. And specifically, in this case, the Power App is used for exceptions management. So an exception to the process where an automated part of the process might be looking for a particular value in that metadata that's appended to the documents. And it says, oh, wait, that field is empty. I'm not expecting that field to be empty. I need to bring this to a human's attention. Well, that's great. That's the first step. But having a nice Power App that is designed specifically with a UI that helps the operator to figure out what's missing and to quickly fix it, that's the other part. So that's what this app is designed to do. It has the document. There is something missing. It puts up the UI. You can, in this case, it's a duplicate file. If you click on the drop down, there are different actions, different problems that you can deal with. And so it's unfortunately a human manual step to deal with the problem, but through the Power App, you can provide as much help to the human to make dealing with the problem as quick and efficient as possible. So again, when we're talking about automation, automate as much as possible. And in this case, even automate as much as you can of the exception handling and give the human operator a nice UI that makes sense to them, that's easy to use, that makes them quick and efficient. And again, you're building out the efficiency of the whole process at that point. So, SharePoint document processing, Power Apps, Power Automate flows, Power Platform in general, all part of this overall solution. And it's using those 8 machine learning models to very cleverly pull and extract data from 40 to 50 different types of documents. And this is the impact it had. So reducing processing time from 208 hours to 4 hours. That's pretty awesome. You have to, like, by any measure, 208 hours down to 4 hours is a huge boost to productivity and, like, even user satisfaction. The people involved in this process super happy with that increased efficiency. The overall result is a 98% efficiency gain, with 80% of those files never seeing that Power App because they don't cause exceptions. So harnessing the Microsoft technologies from M365, SharePoint Online, SharePoint Premium, custom Power Apps. So CreoSpark successfully transformed this client's financial statement processing workflow from end to end, achieving these great efficiency gains, improving accuracy, reducing the number of exceptions, and, you know, basically, big term to use, but revolutionizing the processing of statements that came in email and from their mail rooms. And as I said, the nice thing about this is, whilst there's custom development going on here, this isn't rocket science. This is not building a Large Hadron Collider, right? This is helping a real world business improve its efficiency by taking all those great parts of the Microsoft toolkit and using them together to build a good, solid business solution. So something that we can do for any of you who are watching who need this kind of help. However, there is, you know, things don't stop there. As we mentioned, you know, Cortex became Syntex, Syntex became SharePoint Premium. We introduced copilots to the mix. Technology marches onwards. So I'm going to let you a very short Microsoft video to showcase some of that and what the future might bring.
Over 2 billion pieces of content are added to Microsoft SharePoint every day, just waiting to be shared and used. But how do you find the information you need when you need it? Now you can get a tailored Copilot experience from SharePoint or OneDrive, giving you and your team a simple way to get the answers you're looking for, grounded in your content. As an everyday user, you can quickly create a Copilot right from where your information is stored. It's as easy as creating a folder, but way more powerful. Once your Copilot is ready, easily share it with others. It works alongside you and your peers, like a digital assistant for your team, department, or even the whole company. Now everyone can quickly surface the information they need, grounded on curated, authoritative content. Want to customize the Copilot or add data sources beyond SharePoint? Just use Copilot Studio, which directly integrates with SharePoint. Unlock the knowledge embedded in your content. Give your team the information it needs to boost collaboration and drive business forward by easily creating a Copilot in SharePoint and OneDrive.
Woohoo! How cool is that? So before I address what's on the slide here, what they're saying there is one of the new releases is the ability to build a custom Copilot, which is attached to a particular document library. And that's where it pulls its answers from when you ask it questions. So if you've put the effort in to use the machine learning and build your document processing using custom machine learning models, and you're uploading things to a particular library and they're getting processed and it's extracting all that data, now you can build a custom Copilot that uses the data from that library to answer very specific business questions. So, you know, Copilot is everywhere right now. It's embedded in all your apps. It's in Word, it's in PowerPoint, it's in Teams. But now you will be able to very easily embed it into SharePoint and into SharePoint-based solutions to give very specific answers to very specific questions. So truly awesome. So good news slide. Microsoft had been running a SharePoint Premium trial, which we were all very glum on last month's webinar because we're like, oh no, that trial runs out at the end of June. Well, it's been extended for a whole year, so it will now run out the end of June 2025. So you can look that up online. It includes some monthly capacity because SharePoint Premium is pay as you go. And it basically is giving you some free capacity to play with this and figure out how it will help you in your business context and how it can help you solve your problems. So thank you, Microsoft. Alrighty, I cannot see the questions, so I'm just going to move things around on my screen. And it looks like there was a question that has been answered. Oh, no. Are there any data classification and document control features in SharePoint Premium? So that was answered in the chat. Yes, there is classification, but document control, it depends what kind of document control you're actually looking for. I don't think we would normally consider document control as SharePoint Premium, although depends on how you build your models and what metadata you extract, because once you've extracted the metadata and it's in columns in your library, would you use that as part of your control process? So yeah, maybe. I think that really depends on the specific requirements. And I don't think we have any other questions. So unless anybody wants to throw something into the question box, feel free to do so. But otherwise, we're coming up on time anyway, because I'm apparently pretty good at keeping the timing. So while we wait and see if anybody else puts any other questions in, Prem, do you want to tell everybody about the webinar? The webinar. We just did the webinar. Do you want to tell everybody about the survey?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar session. And thank you, Jed, for delivering an exciting session, right? So again, for our feedback, your feedback is valuable to us. So it will help us improve our webinars and create content that meets your needs and things like that. To access the survey, you can simply scan the code on the right side of the screen. It will be contributed directly to the webinars, and you'll have a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card. Again, once again, we appreciate your participation for today's webinar. You can keep an eye out on your inbox for the handouts. You can actually access to the handouts on the material tab on the right side top. But if not that the case, you'll get the summary of this webinar session on email, and you can actually watch this webinar on YouTube, which will be sent on an email. With that being said, I will hand it over back to Jed. Thank you.
All right, thanks, my friend. So one last thing I want to mention again, we'd already mentioned it, is their previous webinar before this one, which was a very high level SharePoint 101, SharePoint Premium 101 overview of many more of the features and functionality. That is posted up on the CreoSpark YouTube channel. So absolutely go and dive into that one and watch that one too.
Hey, I'm going to ask another question. So, Jed, there's a lot of features in here. Putting you on the spot, what's your favorite piece of Premium? Or like, what are some of I don't know, what's your favorite piece of it, or what's your big takeaway from it? And I've even got an answer
so
too.
transparent. I am so transparent. I'm a metadata nerd. So I love the ability for machine learning models, whether it's the pre-built ones, whether it's custom models you build yourself, the ability to extract data from within a document and place it within the columns in a library is so powerful, because really, not overplaying this, honestly, only your imagination is keeping you from figuring out things you can do with metadata. So whether that's to help you, like in this case, to automate a process, whether it's to help with review of documents, whether it's just like even things like simple status, is this document done with? That's all metadata, and the machine learning models helps you create that. It stops you from having to have people fill it in manually, which nobody likes except me, because nobody's a metadata nerd at the level as I am. So yeah, all the machine learning stuff is definitely top of mind for me.
Yeah, I got a few pieces. Another question came in on a recording. Yeah, there will be a recording available. We'll release it more likely early next week, and be on the lookout for it. It's going to be on our YouTube channel as well. So some of the things I kind of want to answer it a different way, which is I like some of the other pieces that are the document translation. I'm really looking forward to the autofill column, which is that metadata you're talking about, but I'm also looking at the AI side of it and Gen AI, and I love this idea of being able to provide a prompt that I just get my column filled in with. I'm really looking forward to that. I thought that was going to come out months ago. It's still not there, but they say it's going to be there. And the other piece I like about it, which I think is fair from Microsoft's perspective, is it's pay as you go. You pay for what you use, and that's fair. I don't necessarily agree with all the pricing, but it's fair, because when they did it really per user, of course, every organization just went and got one license and said, that's the license to go and pay for it. And no, this is actually pretty expensive to run, so they couldn't do that. So I think pay as you go is fair, because you only activate what you need. Unlike something like SharePoint Advanced Management, where you've got to buy a license for every user if you want it. That's like not cool. And another way I want to answer this question is the negative. I am not an eSig fan with the way that SharePoint Premium has done it, and I'm just going to be blunt and fair with it. I don't think it's there yet for us. It doesn't help that I've yet to been able to get it to work myself. I know the rest of our team has been able to do it on test tenants. I have no idea what I'm doing wrong because it's probably a security issue that I can't get. But I think it's expensive for each eSig. I would say, look, go to DocuSign. It's a couple $100 a user per year for like as many docs as you want. So I hope Microsoft figures that out. I understand why it's hard for SharePoint Premium, Microsoft SharePoint to do it because of the authentication model that they use. We are stuck with Entra, therefore it's there. We're talking Teams 3 years ago or 5 years ago when Teams had problems with all the tenant switching and stuff. That's to me at the root of the whole problem with eSig. I don't know that for a fact, but because it's guest users into your account, into your tenant, which allow eSigs to work, is really scary. So I'm looking at ones that, hey, since it's pay as you go, I don't have to pay for the things I don't want, and I could look at something else. So there's some really good stuff in there.
eSigs is a good point. I think it's R1. We're all been in this business long enough to do the whole never use release version 1. I think it will get better. So fingers crossed.
I fully agree, and it integrates with other eSigs features. But what I never have found, maybe Jed, because you can connect eSig and SharePoint Premium, because I like a lot of the ideas, you can connect it with your other accounts, with your other services, such as DocuSign.
Yes.
Do you still have to pay the $3 per signature if you're using the other service?
Oh, no. Actually, that's a really good question.
Yeah, I never found the answer to that. So
I don't think that's
if you do, that's ridiculous. If you don't, now eSig's back on the table for me.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't disagree with you.
Dipping. Yeah.
As long as it's not, I think eSig's back on the table because I like the data stored in SharePoint because of all the other things you're getting. Like, if you're going to store the stuff in SharePoint and you're not going to store it in a Azure storage or something like that because you actually want metadata and all this stuff and you want easy access, then eSig makes sense using an external provider if you don't double dip on the price. But yeah, I don't know the answer to that either.
I think as well that part of it, and I think the way it's going to go is internal rather than external use cases. So things like compliance. So, taking it to the next level. You're not just clicking a box to say that you've read this policy document. You're now actually giving it an electronic signature which you can be held against. And so in regulated industries, where they really want to see that signature, to have an internal version of that without having to go out to DocuSign or Adobe Sign or something. So I can see it being pushed to those kind of use cases, and then hopefully it will get a little more easy to use. And I think as people take it up for that use case, we might see the price drop.
Sure.
Never know. Fingers crossed.
And again, I got to go back to it. eSig is really hard in a regulated industry where you need that signature to be valid in a legal sense per country. So I'm really not bashing anybody here. It's just, that's the one piece that I don't want to pay for yet. It's not there yet, in my opinion. I look forward to it getting better. But all the other features, pay as you go. And now with the extension of the effectively free trials, basically you're getting free capacity. Not bad. Stay under that capacity and you can get a lot. So
it's fantastic. It's enough to get you interested. It's enough to get you playing with it. It's enough to do a test. And that's the key thing, right? Then you understand the value of it. So
yeah, you can prove ROI.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'll hand it back to you to close this out. Thank you everybody for your questions.
Alrighty, thank you, sir. So again, thank you everybody. There are the resources that are linked to today's webinar, which was probably posted in the chat already. I haven't got all those windows open. Yep, looks like Prem's dealt with that. So again, thank you everybody. Hope that was useful. Any questions about this stuff, reach out to us directly. There is a PDF case study that addresses this one that we've talked about today on our website, so you can go and get that from there, or we provide it as the resources. But yeah, thank you very much for spending some time with us. We will see you again next month, hopefully. And of course, reach out if you have any questions.